Welcome to the PFO channel. I'm Jim. It's so sunny out here I can't even see what's on this camera. Hopefully you can see a greenhouse in the background here. We previously did a video walking around the outside of this thing and then another one walking through the inside, and you can see bits and pieces of the floor in those videos, and that has raised some questions about what exactly did we do for the floor. So let's go ahead and go on inside there and look specifically at the floor details in this video. It's about 34 degrees outside today, but the sun should make it nice and comfortable inside here. Oh, it is nice and warm in here. Get this door closed. Keep some of that heat in. Well, the first thing you see when you come in here, that is if you're looking down. Most people actually aren't looking down when they come in. They get kind of distracted. Ooh, shiny. But if you can avoid getting distracted by the rest of it, you'll see that the floor is made up of a grid work of wooden frames with individually poured concrete in between them. My wife and I mixed up the cement for this. We just used bags of ready mix from the home building store, and we figured out about how big we could make a panel with 3 to 4 bags of mix, which was what we could comfortably deal with in an evening. And my wife did most of the mixing. She'd run the cement mixer out here. We had the cement mixer just set up out here in the yard, and she'd mix it while I made the frames and leveled them up and planned out what to put in them. And it wasn't very far into the project that we decided, rather than just make boring wood frames and concrete pieces, why don't we have a little bit of fun? So we started looking for things that we could embed in the concrete or use to make impressions, and we ended up having just a ton of fun imagining this floor together and making it work. And so I'm happy to be able to show you around this and show you some of the secrets in this floor. It really is a big part of the fun of this whole building. This piece right here was one that we got at Hobby Lobby. In fact, a lot of the things in here probably came from Hobby Lobby. They have a really good selection of iron pieces and metal wrought iron wall hangings that we pushed into service as floor inlays. This one here is about a 3-foot diameter piece of iron. And the way I did this is first I leveled up the form and we poured that level with the boards, and then I had pegs strategically placed in different areas around this perimeter so that when I put this down in the cement, it wouldn't just sink out of sight. And then I gently wiggled it until it was down just below the surface. Then I let it set for about 20 or 30 minutes until the concrete started to harden up. Then I came back out with a toothbrush and a rag and a bucket of water. I started brushing away the hardening concrete to expose the pattern of the iron. And I'd brush a little bit and then wash a little bit. And it took me, probably 3-4 hours to keep this thing brushed off and cleaned up while the concrete was hardening. And you can see in the process of brushing away the surface of the hardening concrete, it also exposed some of the aggregate, and that just added to the interest. But I really like the way this turned out. This was a fun piece. This was the first one that I did with the inlay. And after we did this piece, I was completely hooked, and so we really started going to town on finding different things to stick into the concrete. Over here you can see there's an iron welcome sign, and these were all done the same way. You'd push it in and wiggled around and use a probe to help the concrete fill up into the crevices and holes, and then brush it away and clean it up as it's hardening. See, I've got some spots that are smooth stones set in a pattern and brushed and cleaned up the same way. Another one of those over here underneath the urn. This one here, you can see it's not an inlay, it's actually an impression from a piece of cast iron. Some of them, before we used them as an inlay, we turned them upside down and we pressed them down into the concrete after it firmed up a little while. And if you can see here, I had to wrap a couple of pieces of wire around and have them sitting up behind it so that I could use those as handles to pull it gently back up out of the concrete after I tapped it in there and vibrated it a little bit to fill in all the air spaces. Pull it back up out of there, and it left a pretty nice impression. See if I can find the iron piece where that came from. Oh, here's another impression that we made from a piece of iron. This is a floor register out of an old house. Picked that up in an antique shop. Little cast iron key there. Oh, underneath this beverage cart, there's the piece of iron that we used as a press over by the front door. And then this is where it ended up after we made a few impressions of it. There was the one by the door, and then I think, yeah, another one over here from that same piece of iron. Oh, there's a nice big iron sun. And then we've got, you see the row of the glass blobs. They're not marbles, but there's just the colored little glass blobs like you'd get at a craft supply store and get a whole bag of those. And so we kind of put those in some fun patterns. Got some iron crosses on the side here. Oh, this is one of my favorites here. This little iron heart has some pieces on there that, I don't know if you can tell, but those are cross sections of some seashells. And those are pieces that my wife and I collected on our honeymoon just shy of 42 years ago. We collected those on the beach out in Maine. They were already worn away like that so that you could see the cross section of the shell. I took them on the belt sander and sanded them down a little bit so it was more of a flat surface. Then I inset those into the concrete the same way that I did the iron pieces. Okay, pull that bench out of the way to see what's behind here. Oh, there's the piece of iron that made the other impression over there that I just showed you. This is an interesting piece. There's a couple of galvanized sheet metal initials there and a date. We happened to be pouring this section very near the wedding date of our youngest and his wife. And so it seemed like the thing to do to go ahead and capture that moment in the floor. There's an owl and a bird. This is a glass piece. It was like a window hanging ornament. It's a heavy glass. I don't know, it's over a 1/4 inch thick. And it has an embossed angel. The angel's blowing the trumpet and the wings. But that has held up really well. Hasn't cracked at all. We've got 2 of those. One there. Another one over here. I won't make any corny jokes about having the blue angels in our greenhouse floor. Little bird. This is some cedar post rounds. And there's a cast iron fish. You wouldn't have to spend too much time on the PFO channel homepage to understand exactly how a fish fits into the greater scheme of things. Well, this one here, this piece in front of the sink, this is another nice large wall hanging. That's easily 4 feet wide. And I did this one just like I did the front entry. Put it on pegs so it wouldn't sink, and then spent several hours brushing and washing to expose the iron as the concrete sets up. Now what's back in here? Another impression hiding behind the cold beverage pedestal. Some more flat marbles. That one doesn't look familiar. I don't think I've seen that on the floor yet. Not sure where that piece of iron ended up. Oh, I know where that is. That one ended up on the wall above the window here. This is the functional floor drain. That's just a old iron floor register set into a wood frame with a drain going out to a French drain. I described how we use that in the other video. Check it out in the playlist. Oh, and out here, there's a good piece of floor out there. This is the entryway. Let's go on out here and have a look at that. That's another 3-foot diameter piece of iron. And this is in a big, I don't know, about a 7-foot circular entryway. It's kind of a step up, and that makes a pretty nice entrance coming into the greenhouse from this end. I went ahead and cleared the table out of this corner so I could show you some more of the stuff over here. This is another wall hanging iron piece from Hobby Lobby. This one was painted turquoise. After I did the job with the toothbrush and the rag washing off the iron piece, then I gently brushed across the whole slab just to give it the brushed concrete look. There's an impression of the owl that we made before we used the iron piece as an inset across the other side of the building. This piece here is kind of interesting. It's a iron base from I believe it's from a ship's compass. Picked that up at a garage sale. That's a nice heavy iron piece. It's got a cedar post round set in the middle of it. Just for the fun of it. This over here, this is the moon. And this has kind of got a bronze finish, but I'm sure it's just iron beneath it. This was kind of pushing our luck on being able to use as an inset because the cheekbone on that is pretty high. Makes it kind of tricky if somebody tries to set a chair over that, or if we try to put a table, we have to use wood shims to get around that. But that was pretty cool. Too cool to pass up.
Yeah, I got to tell you the story about these bricks. These are old paving bricks. Most of them are Metropolitan block. There are a few oddballs in there, though. There's some Nelsonville blocks. And somewhere over, here's a Saginaw block. But most of them are Metropolitan block. I didn't put the trademarks up on all of them just to give it some variety. I put some of them with a smooth side up.
But those bricks are ones that I helped my dad collect when I was a little kid. I remember going out with him and my brother, and I think I was so small I had a hard time even holding one of those bricks at a time. They had torn these up from the city streets around Pontiac, Michigan, and they were piled up and they were just up for grabs. And so we took several loads of those things, and I remember using a hammer gently to knock the cement off of the backs of these as we were going through them, sorting through them at home. And my dad put those down into a big patio at the house where I grew up. And then they moved after I'd moved away. They sold that place and moved, but he took the bricks with him, put them down at the new place. And then when he passed away, before my mom sold that house, I went ahead and pulled the bricks up again and brought them with me here. And I had just exactly enough of those to do the width between the doors and all the way end to end on the 24-foot length. So it worked out perfect to complete that brick center aisle. But that was a lot of fun putting that together. Kind of an unusual family heirloom, a bunch of antique paving bricks. All right, well, I'll end the grand tour of the floor by climbing up on this bench and giving you kind of a bird's eye view of as much of it as I can get into the screen at one time. Let us know if there's anything else in here that you'd like more details about. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good day.